Hi, Jonathan York, Bay Financial Partners, looking at investment markets. Fed Chair Powell certainly delivered in his speech at the Jackson Hole Symposium. It is now the right time to be starting to cut rates. So the market's already priced in a 25 basis point cut in September. Some people are even talking about a potential 50 basis point cut in September and then one more before year end. Now, that's a major sort of turnaround from the Fed, given, sort of a couple of months ago, they were still talking about, potentially having to increase interest rates to keep inflation under control. But certainly inflation has come down and heading towards their 2% target, and it's well off the peak of 7% back in June of 2022. Now, also as well, it comes on the back of some major revisions to the employment data. That was revised down by around 800,000 for the last 12 months. That's a pretty major downward revision and is now looking at sort of an average of around 190,000 jobs created per month. But the US economy is still pretty robust. Recent durable goods data, that was on the positive side with a plus number, and so still points to a potential sort of soft landing for the US economy. So on the back of those Fed Chair Powell comments, interest rates have fallen pretty big time in the US. The 10-year is down to 378 and the 2-year is 292. Now certainly on that 2-year, that's around 1 percentage point lower than where it was sort of 3 months ago. Now, the US presidential election campaign is now sort of entering its sort of final stretch, really, obviously, with the election in November. VP Harris is still polling very well. Indeed, it looks like in most polls now she's just slightly ahead of Trump, although there obviously is a margin of error. But certainly what is clear is that Democrats seem to have the upward momentum, Republicans are losing momentum. The Ukraine-Russian conflict as well, Putin is still suffering major humiliation as Ukraine forces push further into Russian territory. Now, oil has spiked higher on the Middle East tension and also as well a potential sort of production cut and sort of ceasing of production from Libya. Because certainly rather than dying down, the Middle East sort of tensions appear to be ratcheting up pretty much every week. So I always come back from 75 bucks back up to around 78 and change. Now, still pretty tough times in the UK, and the new Prime Minister Keir Starmer has come out and said that it could be potentially a pretty tough budget in October as they try and make up for the shortfall in the public finances. Now, in the EU region, as they start to wind down on the sort of summer months, ECB is still looking at potentially further rate cuts as we head into autumn. Now, in Australia, the Reserve Bank will be interesting to see what they do in their next meeting. Last meeting, they were talking about the possibility of a further rate hike in Australia. But with other central banks talking about cutting rates or actually have cut rates, it'd just be interesting to see what the Reserve Bank do. because certainly as well the Australian economy is pushing along at an okay rate. Now here in New Zealand, latest retail spending data, that was down again, and that just follows a trend of continuing weakening retail sales. Although on a positive note, Fonterra looks like they might just up their milk payout to $8.50. And that's obviously good news for the dairy sector. Now, as a direct result of the cut from the Reserve Bank to the OCR, mortgage rates have been falling now over the last sort of couple of weeks, and easing, starting to see a little bit of a pickup as well in housing activity in the housing market. Now, if you look at projections for the OCR for the next sort of 12 months, currently 525, it's looking like in sort of June or July next year, could be down as low as 4%. But as with all moves with the OCR, it takes a while for it to actually filter through the economy. And certainly that cut was, while it was welcomed, it will be probably 3 to 6 months before we start to see the full impact of that. So if you are looking for income options, go to the website www.bayfinancialpartners.co.nz for lots of interesting articles, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.